We wish to advise that tonight's edition of Roy and HG may include material that could offend some viewers.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Saturday night. It's party night. It's time to Club Buggery. Tonight, the Sporting Live presents Club Buggery, live from the Sharp End here in Australia. Club Buggery proudly features on song the Nissan Cedrics.
Goodbye, goodbye, farewell, goodbye. This is the night to fold up and die. For 3 whole years, we've been in heaven. 95, 96, goodbye, 97.
Yes! And shouting, close the trap when you lift the flap. Australia's brand new Beatles! And now would you please give a big warm Australian welcome to our hosts for the night. Direct from the Inner Visions nightclub, rampaging Roy Slaven and H.G. Nelson!
Yes. Thanks very much, Ian Terpstabby. Thanks very much, brand new Beatles. Thanks very much, Nissan Cedrics. Cooey customers, welcome to Club Buggery on another Saturday night when too much variety will be barely enough. Tonight, Club Buggery comes to you live from the Sharp End here at the Ocean Beach Hotel, Cottesloe. And to torch the week on another week of action, danger, romance and adventure, let's simply ask rampaging Roy Slaven, which issue have you plucked from the tissues this week? Pal!
Thank you very, very much, H.G. Nelson. I've been wanting to get my teeth into this for years. Literary standards in this country. It's not often I agree with David Kemp. Oh, I mean, I love his gear, but I normally don't agree with him. But look, I bumped into kiddies this afternoon. They must have been 6 or 7 years old. They didn't know what parsing was.
Oh, yes.
They didn't know what subject and predicate was. They didn't know what noun clause of time was, your adverbial clauses. This country has gone crazy. They know nothing about conjunctive verbs or gerunds, nouns, pronouns. They know nothing.
Look, what worries me even more than that, Roy, is what are we teaching in the schools? Look, I bailed out a couple of kids on the way to the footy today,
Yes.
on the way to the footy today, and said, could you tell me the first verse of Supernauts classic, I Like It Both Ways? They looked at me blankly.
Didn't know where you were coming from.
No, they didn't have a bloody clue. I moved on. I said, OK, fair enough, you don't know that at all. Could you have a go at, say, oh, I don't know, Eagle Rock, just humming it?
Yeah.
Not a bead. Not a bead. Not a bloody idea. I said, have you heard of the band Date Bait? Yeah. And they just looked at me blankly.
I thought they'd say yes.
Wow.
Yes, we know that, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
We know date bait. That's about all we bloody well know.
Yes. Look, we've got...
I mean, there's so much need for jobs in this community. I think with grammar, if we can get grammar on board in the schools, there'll be jobs in this. For teachers.
That's right. That's right.
How about some more teachers, Kimpy?
Well, I'd like to think Kempy should go in for a bit of hairdressing too. He's got a look that says, I'm coming from somewhere else. I'm going somewhere
He's got
else.
that beard that says I'm a failed psychologist.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I know even less about myself than when I started growing it.
That's right.
Anyway, with that as a setting a scene here in the Sharp End, it's now time to welcome a man who spent a lot of time when he was a kiddie working in the Footscray abattoirs. That's the old Footscray abattoirs. And there, he got a lot of ideas for his current role. Nissan Cedrics, can you cuff Tom Croydon? Can you take him down and fingerprint him? Can you shine the bright light and begin the cross-examination with a John Wood story?
When I was young, I watched Graffiti Rule. Loved all the action, thought it was cool. Then I grew up and knew if I could, I'd spend some time with actor John Wood. John Wood, part-time farmer. Tonight there's no script. Tonight there's no act. Just a popular bloke with the happy knack of being John Wood Theatre's lost. John Wood, healer's boss. Ooh, John
Thanks very much for coming in, John, and it's nice to see you made a bit of an effort. It's a tremendous...
Well, it's your last show. I thought I should go all out.
Indeed.
Well, half out, anyway.
Half out, yes. Yes, all out would have been nothing at all. Now, we've got a bit of a clip of you in Blue Heelers in the Tom Croydon role, and it's a sad piece. So if people are squeamish at all, they might like to duck out for a cup of tea.
It's not
now.
for the kiddies, is it?
It's not for the kiddies, this one, no.
Is this what you warned the audience about before we started?
Indeed. Here you are, you pick up a crate of champagne, you feel a bit queasy, you decide to have a look at your hand, and it might be the wristwatch there that's preventing the circulation. You see a candle, and then mercifully you've got the breath left to blow it out before it starts dripping all over the place, and then you feel a bit peaky. You talk to the dog. I wonder if we can get this line up here about the dog. He's the only person in the room.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that's right. Neither does the dog. And you think, bloody hell, here's a present.
When I was Rafferty, I used to talk to the cat.
And here you go. You put up the star. Get, the altitude sickness gets to you, and then down you come.
Here we go.
Oh. And mercifully, we leave it there before we see the bypass operation. Now,
Mercifully, we all went home for Christmas. So it was...
yes. Now, look, just before we come to talking about Blue Heelers, the grand final today, how did you see it? I know you were there.
I was there, and you pretended to be there.
Yeah, well,
Yes, yeah. Well, the first half wasn't bad. Second half was dreadful. For St Kilda, it was dreadful.
Yes.
I'm not a St Kilda supporter, but it was a pretty lacklustre game, all in all, I thought.
Yes. When you think
They
about
deserved
highlights...
to win.
Yes, of course, the Crows did deserve to win. In fact, when I think about the highlights, apart from Jarman getting a few and Hall getting a few, there wasn't much else to, you know, sort of have a conversation
I
about.
thought Aussie Jones was all right in the first half. I thought he did a few nice things. That run he did right up the southern stand wing, and then
got the goal,
amazing goal. Yeah, it was terrific, but it was pretty lacklustre.
And were there people, you know, heading out with the red, white and black sort of in with tears rolling down? And
Red, white, and mostly black, yes.
yes, that's right. Yes.
Did you see Molly Meldrum? I know Molly was...
I didn't see Molly, no.
No, it took it very,
I
very
did
hard.
see his front fence. I don't know what colour he's going to paint it tomorrow.
Oh, no, leave it up there. Now, speaking about Blue Heelers, does the success of the show surprise you? I think we're selling it now, well, when I last looked at the books, 20-odd countries are getting it now.
Yeah, I keep hearing different figures. Look, the success does surprise me. I thought it would... I mean, it got a terrible drubbing from the critics when it first came out, and I thought there was something wrong with my judgment. You know, I read the first script and I thought, this is okay, and this will be good, and we can do this, and they're interesting characters. And we did the pilot, and the critics bagged it. And it's gone on to be an amazing success. I don't know why. I mean, if you knew why, you'd bottle it. I mean, you know, why are you guys so successful? You'd bottle that. It's funny, that just must be pure talent. Must be just talent.
Between the
It's
three
the
of us.
script. I think it's the script. You've got to have a good, solid
Put
script.
our hands on the table, we'd probably levitate the whole studio. I don't know. But the interesting stat, you know, somebody said, oh, look at this great crowd today, you know, like, our audience in Melbourne, I mean, you'd have to, you know, like say to everybody in the MCG, all right, off you go, everybody out and get the next lottie, and you'd have to do that 9 times. That's our weekly audience in Melbourne alone.
And a cumulative figure, have you got any idea? I mean, I know it's dubbed into Hindi for your subcontinental market, and they're mad about it. Whenever I go down there, you know, up there and say I'm Australian, they say, do you know Tommy Croydon? What's he really
And you
like?
say very well.
Yeah, that's right, that's
you
right.
do.
You saw the heart attack episode, he's recovered nicely. Thank you very much. Back up on his feet. Have you any idea do you get feedback from places?
A little bit. I ran into a guy actually at the MCG today. I just did an interview with Crackers Keenan, on which you were pretending to be somewhere at the
Yes, that's
MCG.
right.
And an Irish guy walked up to me and told me that he watched the show regularly in Belfast. And, you know, like, so we do get that sort of feedback occasionally. It's amazing to get letters from all over the world. Well, you must, I mean, you know, if you're going to the UK, you must have had some sort of feedback from there.
Do you find it takes longer for you, say, in the queue at Woolies? Do people buttonhole you?
It takes you a long time to get round the supermarket. It's not so bad in the actual line waiting to get out, but you know, the cash registers.
Because you get bailed up overseas as well. Did I read you were on a ferry to Ireland or something like that, and some people bailed you up on the ferry? Is this true?
No, we went over to do some publicity, and we decided to go over and come home via Paris and Italy, and we were just walking onto the cross-channel ferry, and the guy had been an extra in Rafferty's Rules. The chief purser had been an extra in Rafferty's Rules, so he sort of shunted us all into first class, and we went into Calais in the, you know, up on the bridge. So, you know, being a sort of a moderate celebrity has its advantages sometimes, you know, because not many people get to go into Calais on the bridge.
No,
True. Now,
true.
your
On the dry
career,
part of the boat.
yeah, your career turned around when you gave up the fags, because you used to be a pretty heavy smoker.
It's all right for you to laugh. He's absolutely right. I don't know who did his research. Yeah, no, I gave up smoking. I put on about 2 stone straight away. And
Well, you were a rollies man. You were a rollies man, weren't you?
Yeah,
What, 70
I
or
was.
80 a day, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. I used to, and I was
Did you get
writing
time to do
scripts.
anything else?
Could you do it one-handed?
I used to, no, I
type
couldn't. But I was writing scripts mostly. I'd given up acting. I was mostly writing homicide and not homicide, Cop Shop and Prisoner, and I found myself sitting in a room rolling cigarettes and banging away on the typewriter. When I started reaching for the scotch at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I thought, I've got to stop doing something here.
Yes.
So I stopped it all, and I went back to acting.
Can I ask you, you write for the show, you write for Blue Heelers. How tricky is that? Writing for yourself, in other words. Do you give yourself the best lines?
No, I don't. In fact, I try very hard to write myself out of scenes. It was very hard, and in fact, I won't do it again. I've written 3 episodes of the show. But, you know, when you work with guys like William McInnes, who would sort of stand around and bag everything you do, I mean, you know, like, Footscray supporter. It didn't even go today.
No.
And no, look, basically everybody was very kind to me, but it was very hard to basically watch your script being
Torn apart.
torn apart.
shredded.
But you wrote,
I don't like that line now.
You write under a pseudonym, Rex Styles.
That's right.
Don't you?
I did.
you
Now,
still
when
do
the,
that?
when the cast got the script from a Mr. Rex Styles, did they know that you were Rex Styles?
Some of them did. The director of the first one didn't. It's bloody rubbish, isn't it?
And did you find the actor say,
He
oh, I'd
nearly
never say
died
this,
when he-
Styles, he's never seen the show.
Obviously, yeah, yes. No, look, they were very kind. That's all I can say. They were very kind, and most of it actually got on screen, which is surprising.
Now, you're a gardener. You love gardening, I believe. Is this right?
Yeah,
You've got a
well,
bit of a property.
we've got a
With spring happening, how are your roses?
The roses have actually survived. We had our garden redesigned recently by Paul Bangay, who's a fairly swish designer down there. We didn't know he was quite so swish when we just liked the look of some things that he'd done. And we had to move the rose garden from out of the driveway to somewhere else. And we
Why?
just
The
moved
car
it.
was running over it.
Well, basically the car would be running over it by now, you know, so we had to move them, and they got moved at the wrong time. But
And this clown who
can't
designed
kill
it
with
calls
a stick.
himself a gardener and he moves them at the wrong time.
no, we moved at the wrong time. It was our fault. I mean, if we'd have
What did he pull
gone
up in the
with the
car
design when
and
we
say,
said,
what are you going to have to move these roses and I'll come back when you've done it?
that's well, more or less, yes. Well, you know, that's,
So did you move them when they
people
weren't
do that,
dormant?
don't they?
They weren't dormant when
They
you
were
moved
just about dormant.
them? Too early.
Just too early. So
How's your
you're a
pruning?
gardener yourself.
Did your pruning go all right? Are you,
The pruning's very nice.
how many varieties you got? Are they just tea roses, or are they hybrid teas, or are they standards, or bush? What's the story?
Well, there's one tea rose standard. The rest of them, God knows. I got them from a nursery. They look nice, and I put them in.
So you don't give a buck of what goes in?
No, I do. But if they look nice, in they go. Sort of like myself.
Have you got to spray them much? You got aphids problems or anything like that?
No, we've had I
Black
had
spot?
aphids once. We get black spot occasionally.
Right.
What is this? 20 questions.
Yes, it's called an interview.
An interview about roses. What do you know about roses? Absolutely nothing. What do you know about acting? Absolutely nothing.
Well, let's talk chooks. Now, you've got a lot of
Chooks,
chooks
I've
at
got-
home.
no,
Now, what do you got? Black Ormondians, white...
Rhode Island Reds.
Rhode Island Reds I've got.
Now,
Rhode Island what?
how are they laying? Have you looked today?
They're laying
Yesterday?
terribly nicely, except there's a bloody dog from next door that keeps coming in and taking the eggs. Yeah,
Right,
so
now, at
I
Christmas
don't know
time,
quite what I'm going to do
or
there.
on the kiddie's birthday, do you get out the tomahawk? Do you pluck a fat one out of the pan, cut the head up?
No, at Christmas time I climb up the tree and take a nosedive, you know.
Right.
No, I couldn't. Once anything
But you worked
comes
in an abattoir, so you got
I
the
did.
runs on the board.
When you say runs,
What was your job at the abattoir? Were you in the drop box?
no, I
or-
was a forklift driver. I worked in the cold store. I worked in the cold storage department, which was actually
The
great.
soft end.
The soft end. I still... Don't you love a man who laughs at his own jokes?
That wasn't me, that was Marty.
No, it's a terrible experience. You know, look, it's an amazing experience working in abattoir, and working in the cold storage was also terrific because it was one of those things where you basically just, I mean, you were just a labourer. You just used your body and you threw cartons around. I was actually quite fit in those days, but you were locked in a fairly silent environment. You know, like similar to a TV studio, with snow on the ceilings and completely closed off from the outside world. So you had all this time to just drift away in your own head and dream about one day being
Doing something else.
getting out, basically.
What were the parties like, say, Christmas parties? You know? Did the blokes
I never
grab
ever went
tons
to
and
any.
do this?
Nice to see nothing's changed with you.
I was going to say, the chooks, though. Going back to the chooks, I mean, you know... Look,
It's definitely, we want to see a dead chook. Nothing comes onto our place. My wife will not allow anything. Once we've had sheep just wandering off the road, and they know that once they wander in our place, they're no longer meat. You know, so they do what they like, you know.
Did I read you don't like American TV shows much? Is that right?
Some American TV shows I don't like much. In fact, I'm amazed at how poor the quality of some American TV shows are, considering the amount of money that's spent on them. I mean, when you think that a guy like Tom Selleck got a salary once a week that would basically make 4 episodes of Blue Heelers, you know, for himself alone, I mean, the quality of the program didn't really reflect that sort of money. And I think that's... I mean, I think we make great television for the money that's spent on it.
Yeah.
Well, look at the show.
Look at this.
Speaking of Blue Heelers, what's the future of the program? I mean, you're up to a 4th year of it now?
We're just about to finish our 4th year. I mean, the thing could go forever the way it feels at the moment. You know, like, we'd have to... I mean, even if it lost 20 ratings points, it'd still be rating enough to warrant being kept on. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope it goes for ages. I mean, there's nothing much else I want to do, particularly at the moment. I mean, I'd love to play King Lear and stuff like that, but nobody asks.
Well, maybe someone will be listening.
Yeah.
Maybe John Bell will listen and say...
I think John will want to play it himself.
Yeah, that's very
I've got a
true.
feeling.
That's true.
On that cheerful note, it's time to wish John all the best for a Blue Heelers-filled future, and I ask all Club Buggery viewers, whether here in the sharp end or there at home, to knock the heads off a couple of chooks as a way of thanking John Wood.
John Wood, Mr. Drama, John